Hello and welcome back. It is time for game number 4 out of 5 here, best of 1 series. And Playday number 6 of EU League, stage 3 of 2022. Rogue versus Outsiders. Hello and welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Melissa Medic, your host. With me are Anne and Fresh. And we're going to take a look at both of these teams, starting off with Rogue, but I need to know who wants to talk about them. So how about we settle this in a good old-fashioned rock, paper, scissors. Who do you think will win, Anne or Fresh? Let us know in the chat. Drum roll!
Are you gonna call it?
It's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Best out of 3. Best of 3.
Best of 3?
Okay, we're taking
Yes.
this serious.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
days,
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
1-0 to 1.
Ooh. 1, 2, 3. Oh!
That doesn't count, right? It's a draw.
Doesn't
1,
count.
2, 3. 2-0 on. She beats me.
Let's go. I get to talk about Rogue. I
Go
like
ahead.
doing that.
Oh no,
All
I've
yours.
got to talk
Bring
about
'em up.
Outsiders.
I'll leave something for you as well,
Okay.
no worries. I think
Crumbs.
if we talk about Rogue, the major thing that we need to talk about is the fact that they seem to be really good in attack. They used to, for example, with a map like Oregon, win more than half their attacks. They had a 52% win rate on attack, but this stage has kind of gone down to only winning about 1/3 of their attack in rounds. That seems to be where their major problem is lying at the moment. They're kind of recovering though. They've had 2 good games in the last, in the last 2 play days. Cryan specifically had really good games. He's definitely stepped up. Well, he's fighting the players, and in last play he was even fighting his own mic.
Yeah, that clip of the mic just punching up at Crime was something to behold. What I will say about Rogue is, like I say, slow start, but the past 2 play days, demolishing G2, demolishing BDS.
Yep.
We're not just talking about a team that's winning. We're not talking about, no disrespect here to Wolves in this last game. Wolves went and beat Heroic. Rogue are demolishing their rivals, and I think they're in that kind of run of form where you're thinking, yeah, this is why they're the major champions. And they don't seem to be suffering from the hangover of winning the previous major either. They look dead shot on going again.
If you want the proof, Rogue demolished BDS so much, they had to go to boot camp. I think that kind of tells the story. But moving on to the other side, Outsiders, Fresh's favorite team in EU League. You talked about them earlier in the pre-show.
Yep.
What can you tell us more?
Well, I'm Outsiders fan that much. I actually predicted them in the CGG predictions
did.
by accident. And Demo made me change my predictions on here for them. Look, I like Outsiders in terms of how well they, in my eyes, they're the team that you can judge every other team against. How have they performed against Outsiders? If they've trounced them, probably quite a good team. If Outsiders have beat them, they've still got things to work on. And that's what Outsiders are. They're like a baseline team, but they've got such a unique play style because they are so passive. Because they are in a completely different meta to a lot of the other teams. It works for them. They punish teams, but it does lead to inconsistency because their win condition is basically determined on whether the other team has good team play or not.
Yeah, if you think about the players specifically as well, you have to talk about Den and Always. They're almost always stepping up for their team, but Always not only just stepping up in rating-wise, he's only got a lot of kills, a lot of plants as well on the board. So very versatile playstyle coming out from him. And you mentioned the very slow, maybe even frustrating playstyle they seem to have on attack, as well as defense. And well, we just talked about Rogue's attacks, for example. I'm really curious if Rogue is going to be able to break through that pattern, or if these last 2 play days were maybe just a little bit of a fluke and they might have fallen back into the attacker, not too creative attacks.
I mean, look, Spoit had to step away from the computer after he almost lost to Fresh. So if that tells you anything about the ranked experience and the practice, flimsy.
Yeah, well, no. What I would say for Rogue is I would expect them to know what they're coming up against. Rogue, in my opinion, have got one of the best support staffs in the league. Obviously, they've got the best team in the league, current major champions, but the support staff will know exactly what they're coming up against. They will know Outsiders passive. They will know that you cannot be doing full clearing, taking loads of time against these boys. So if they are full clearing, expect it to be fast. Expect them to take some risks. However, I would expect them to be taking direct attacks at them, going fast, and trying to be a little bit cheesy as well. Really taking the game to Outsiders because that is the win condition. I believe that will be the win condition for Rogue.
So what will be our map for this series? We'll have to figure it out together here in our map band section. It maps out 1 is left, and it's Outsiders. They'll have the last say. They take out a border, Oregon just before by Rogue. We go to Bank. All right, we get to see it again. And this time it's Outsiders on the attacking side. Defense start for Rogue. And your thoughts?
Well, we've seen how Rogue plays Bank during the major. that was really strong from them, but teams have also started to counter them, and, well, they know how Rogue play, for example, on Bank. If I look at Outsiders, they've lost this map twice. 7-8 versus Heroic last week, and 3-7 versus Wolves. Not the greatest of scores, but Rogue hasn't played this map yet this stage.
One thing I will say is, when you have a conversation about who is the best Bank team in the world, Rogue are leading that conversation, and Outsiders probably aren't in that conversation.
Why? Why is Rogue leading it?
Because, well, one thing on their defense. So Rogue have got the best defense in the league. One of the reasons for that is Deepak. The fact that he's so dynamic on the Echo. To be honest, if Outsiders didn't play so much like Plant Denial, you would absolutely ban Echo away from Deepak on this map. Using the Echo drone up the square skylight everywhere. Very dynamic information. And they're so comfortable attacking it. The processes of attacking it, half clearing, full clearing, different strats on every single site. They've got just everything on lock on this map. They know it inside out. And I feel like Rogue have done well in map bans here, and I wonder if it's a slightly smaller map pool from Outsiders, because Rogue literally play all 9 maps.
Do you think, though, for Outsiders, if you think maybe indeed a smaller map pool, but for them, this game really matters too. I think this is maybe the closest they've been to making it to a major this year so far, and, well, they're not really...
May 2020, really.
Yeah, well, they're not really too far away at the moment, so this is probably their biggest chance, and if I don't remember this wrong, they're playing against Na'Vi, TT9, and G2 still after, which are, prior to this Playday, the bottom 3 teams in the league at the moment. So that is probably the easiest one you have after this game to go to the major, but this game will really matter to hopefully pick up at least 1 point and start that journey on a positive way.
OT for Outsiders, that'd be pretty sick. At least that.
Do you know what? I've made 2 hair-related bets on Rogue in the past 2 stages. I'm
You're no
tempted
betting
to
man,
make another
Jack.
one because I'm just that sure that Rogue are going to read into Outsiders in terms of, you know, think if Rogue starting on defense. Rogue have got the best defense win rate in the league, 75% in the league over 5 play days. Immaculate defenses, basically. They're starting against a team that's super passive. We've seen them struggle on the attacks. Really bad attacks, so passive, so slow, full clears, comes down to late on time. I would expect Rogue to honestly be, 4-2, 5-1, 6-0 on the defense. And then we know how good Rogue and their current attacks are getting. I don't see many win conditions for Outsiders.
One thing is, if you talk about their slow attacks, we know how Heroic played into that last week. They had the pulse, they had all the information, they played off the C4s very well. You just mentioned how Rogue does that on Bank continuous as well.
Yep.
The Mozzie, with the Echo. That might be a really concerning point for TT9.
All right, so you were talking about support staff from Rogue, how slow sometimes Outsiders can be, and then you add the fact that Leon has a cat, which, let's be fair, is the most important support staff of them all. No matter the league, no matter the game, really. So thank you very much, Anne and Fresh. We got Rogue versus Outsiders. We got our wonderful Emmy and Hap. Take us through it. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. Fresh. What was the bet? What was the colour?
You've made
You
a bet.
opened up the sentence and said I've done 2 hair bets about Rogue, and then you did not mention a colour or a bet.
Come on,
Exactly.
one more.
Nobody pulled me up on it.
One more.
Twitch chat,
One more
please, at Fresh.
Oh, that's a cool one. You say what needs to happen. Twitch chat gets to do a poll at the end of it if it happens to what color it will be.
Bartosz, if you're listening,
Right. If
you know what to
Outsiders
do.
win, they can choose my hair colour.
If Outsiders win, Outsiders or Twitch chat?
If Outsiders win,
Okay.
Twitch
Then
chat
who-
can choose my hair.
Okay, cool.
Maybe ask it in the
Yes.
interview.
He's
Okay.
not going to have a girlfriend.
If
by the end.
Outsiders wins, Twitch chat can choose his hair
Okay,
color.
hi,
You've heard it here
welcome.
first.
Hi, now we have the bet.
green screen.
Welcome. Hi, welcome. We're going to
Hello,
go
thank
cast
you.
a game.
Sorry, I was
yeah.
distracted.
It's us now. We're taking over from the Dream Team duo that's gone out into the rain, and we're going to watch, well, maybe Rogue put a bit of distance at the top, maybe Fresh leaving here with a brand new haircut. Either way, if there was a team to be able to maybe do a little bit of an upset today, this could be the match.
It could be the matchup indeed. Rogue, I believe, had a disconnect
Lamu.
from what I've heard on the sound. The chat does kind of
Theoretically-
feed into that as well, but we don't know yet.
Theoretically, we'll get through the bands.
It is outside.
And then
Yeah, we get through the bands first either way, and after that we will have to see if or not we will have a quick pause
all right.
to get everybody back.
We can also use this moment to call out Demo and Ollie, who
We can. Have they left their headsets?
Wonderful, wonderful studio team. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't know if they want me to. Came in and moved their headsets into the correct position, out of the way of the frame. Demo and Ollie.
How dare they?
Jeez.
Let them in on the
Rookie.
castle ones. Instantly screw it all up.
Okay, Bank. Fun fact, and this has no bearing on this game, but
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
fact: these two teams actually played on this map in stage 1. Outsiders won it 7-2. It was a very different Outsiders.
It was, yes.
Let's be fair. It had at least 2, if not 3 different players off the top of my head at that point. It was also
Slightly different rogue.
slightly different rogue, but it's a fun fact for you all at home. The reason we say we don't consider it is it's a very different meta, and these are very different teams since then.
Yeah, Rogue has gone through a massive rise as well, of course, after missing out in stage 1 to, well, becoming a major champions in stage 2. Quite a big change, you'd say. This day back, what's that? Drones with a heart on top of it.
It just says drones. Does it? Is there a?
I think there's a heart as well right above the L.
What is that written on?
I think it's like a piece of plastic, plexiglass maybe he has in front of the Benelux trophies.
Did he make?
Oh no, he has the sign that is, isn't it Deepak?
Oh, is that from the Berlin Major?
I think so.
And
and
it's
I
just
think
the
you put it
lights coming
behind-
through it.
You put it behind
Okay.
the trophies and the lights coming through.
At first, I thought he was making signs for us. Now he's gone because he heard us talking about the signs. He's come to beat you up.
No. No biggie T.
Yeah, that could be the sign that was behind the caster's balcony at it. We're just going for a quick rehearse. We'll be back in the game momentarily. I'm going to touch wood. That's the sound of me
This
touching.
wood?
I don't know if that was picked up by the mic. That's the sound of me touching wood. Only one player potentially dropped, and they're all in our team house. So hopefully it's a very easy, quick fix problem.
Yeah, it could be like a PC that just
Yeah.
had a bit of a moment, decided to, you know what, I just want to not start yet. Just trying to get
We're chilling.
everything get back going. I mean, you still see all the cameras on, right? So it means that they are all here. It's not the internet that's dropped. So just waiting to get everybody in that lobby before we get going.
Deepak's back.
Deepak's back as well.
Didn't beat you up.
No, still here. There's a lot of Dutchies in the studio today.
There is.
we are
have
expanding.
3 Dutchies.
We do. And how many people are there from the UK? There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
At the minute,
4.
because Des and Tim are not here,
Yeah.
they were replaced with 2 UK brethren.
Yeah.
So the numbers haven't actually changed.
No, but we are getting closer.
We're getting closer.
We're no longer as outnumbered as we used to
Do you know what I'm super excited about the possibility of?
What are you super excited
Well, A,
of
getting into the
possibility?
game, but B, Outsiders making it to a major. Now hold on. Slow down.
I'm
hold
holding my
on.
horses.
Slow down.
Yes.
The games they have ahead of them, TT9, Na'Vi, G2.
Yep.
They are the only team remaining after this Playday, outside of, I think, BDS, who are in the top 4 anyway, that don't have to play one of the current top 4 teams, or one of the teams that open the day with the top 4. In fact, that might even shift now a little bit if M&M stick around in the top 4 by the end of the day, which they theoretically will. I'm trying to think if a round difference could swap them, but I think it might be a little bit too maybe if Outsiders have a massive win on this, I think they might push M&M down. It's a distant, but it's a very doable path for a team that has been on that precipice for a long time.
5 seconds to go.
Yeah, and they'll be more than happy to push themselves over towards the Sweden Major that is coming up at this November.
Yonkaping.
Hoping, indeed. I've actually went through the Google pronunciation guide, and I cannot do that. It's
Yeah.
Yunkubig or something like that. I don't know.
I just do it wrong to make Fabian laugh.
Yeah, we need to get a Swede to pronounce it for us. Either way, as we get going, Rogue, of course, themselves are chasing that major spot as well. I mean, they are currently on 3rd. That is by no means going to be safe for them if they start losing now. So they are in need of picking up a victory against the team they're expected to win against here as well, because they have a bit of a rougher ride ahead of them.
All right, well, we'll start with getting into this, and we'll start by maybe getting into Rogue's defense. We talked about how the pace of a clear can be something that Rogue has to pay a lot of attention to, but at the same time, Rogue, when they play this game on their defense, is something that they grew in a lot of confidence. Boyd especially. He was a player that started to drift his way up to stock. He really didn't know his feet at the very early days, but look at this. Cryin gets pinged and called out, rotates right down. Jam wasn't quite in a position to try and swing into that, was instead on the back of a drone, but forces the Rogue players down towards the mid-floor. Has to pull themselves back with all the clearance and clarity there is before. Rask, if he doesn't know about Spoit's position, might be something that takes a bit of surprise to pre-fire. Just a little bit shy of the time of the rotation there, but that allows Outsiders to start trying to fish for those middle floor players.
Just some verticality being taken care of now by Milon with that sledgehammer. He's hoping to find Cryin as they know some players are around that first floor, as you mentioned before. But they're just dancing around there, up towards the hatches, falling back towards the actual site. With 80 seconds left on that clock, well, still that first floor needs to be completely droned out, still needs to be completely taken under control, and they don't even have it fully cleared out yet, with Sport still being active in the elevator.
Ash is going to start trying to apply some pressure onto that swing round. Milon, he's looking down 2 stories of devastation. And Rask is that steady creep in through the middle and the core. There's a drone. Reveals the player in the game, and the game he's trying to play, and he realizes he needs to drop and pop off. But look at this, 2 minutes gone now, and only now are they starting to put the pressure onto Open itself. They still have a hold of Blue. That's about to start to fall away, but Leon can slightly tuck himself back and hold on to the fact that he's got a couple more canisters, and he probably knows the hatch is open at this point, so there's no route back. The pressure is still entirely on Outsiders to try to find a player out of this. The door in the back gets popped open, the shotgun swings the corner a bit wide, another smoke canister pop. They finally find the first at the bottom of the staircase for 30 seconds, and they still got to find the site.
Still a lot of damage done already by Rogue, though, in terms of time that has been wasted. Now they need to try to get themselves in the right position. However, Milon up above on these hatches here, we've seen him make massive impacts before. He might be looking to do the exact same thing again.
He has no other choice. They're just tucked around, going for the plant itself. Smoke canister's off the board, and the Echo is still on, but so is pretty much everybody else from the side of Rogue. Bloodshed everywhere. It's Rogue that are the ones that leave with their bodies in position. I was going to talk about the bans and how it impacts that place, but at the point it seems like it's going to be a bit of a brawl.
It is, and well, that's kind of what you get after so much time has been wasted. You just need to muscle through at that moment in time. There's not much else they could have done. I have to say, though, really like the impact play at the top of the blue stairs, where they use the impact EMP to get rid of the ADSs, instantly followed up by a grenade. And that's the advantage, I guess, of the impact EMP. It pops instantly rather than it shows that blue light, that blue glow. Hey, the ADSs are going to fall away, which means you could theoretically find that sledge if the timing was right on point. Or smoke, sorry, which for now was slightly off. Otherwise, it would have been able to kill Leon Gets a little bit earlier.
Okay, let's talk about bans now.
Yes,
about
that's a
bans
good
now.
idea.
The removal of Goyo is somebody who's sort of grown in presence, but mainly on that one site, on that one sort of map. You might see him dabbled with occasionally on, you know, Pocket Play on Club or somewhere else. But he's in pretty much every single pickup roster in every single game of Bank. I would say that 80% of his playtime is on that one site alone from all the teams.
Yeah, and mainly by Outsiders as well. If there is a team that loves to play Goyo, it is Outsiders. Like, if we go back a year ago on Villa, would be their go-to pick on most of the sites as well, where it became a perma-ban against him. So Rogue banning out the Goyo, it's not really a surprise right here. Valkyrie removing some of the information from Outsiders' side, but I think that the Echo on the board is going to be, well, making sure that if they want information, they'll just play that instead on Rogue. So I'm not too sure about the impact there.
Steady hit across the top and Open. Second place is where Open's found itself here. You still have this tall extension. The duo, Cryin and Spoit, is going to be trying to cause as much problem as possible, and also as much time wasted. There's a long swing towards the double windows, but this is what I sort of talked about. As Rogue learnt their teeth on their side of the defense, they also learnt when to bear them and when to just sort of hold back and be a bit bare on the swings round. They pull away from the angle, the chance. They're not going to give the opportunity for Outsiders to get an early bleed here, but instead Kanto might be the first one dancing around the side of Arcos.
It's Ras that is just trying to sneak past here, making a little noise to ensure himself some safety here. As Cryin takes small amounts of damage, falling back. Spoit finds Pasha though. That's going to be the first entry. Rask is still around though, might not have been spotted out, and as he's about to be retaking this angle, he knows exactly where Spoit is at.
That's it. He's tucked himself into a close little corridor there. You can see a drone highlighted for just a second. This grenade, he hoped he would get the swing on the pull, but Spoit pulls back instead. Isn't going to risk the engagement. As I said before, it's a lesson learned. They know that they can sort of play themselves around. They've got the research on an Outsiders team that's played this multiple times. Kanto takes the head off of Milon as he's cracking open. It's the big danger of this sort of play. The drop down in the hatch, and suddenly Outsiders find themselves 2 bodies down and a minute to go.
They're hearing the reinforcements. They're looking to quickly take Square under control. However, they're also aware of the fact that players are still downstairs. Kento just managed to land one of those shots, and as they're both lining up right now, Kento unable to find that first, to find Always, who takes him out cleanly.
Yeah, that was a very clean swing there. You assume a bit of intel, and Dan gets the second on the back of it. Leon's gone. 15 seconds and a bit of a turn of face. They've also got the breach open. Deepak's close and caught round the corner of the quad wall. He's going to see if he can try and get a big bite out of the strike that comes next. But here, that position's becoming a lot more dangerous to play. The bulletproof goes, as does Always, to the top, maybe to open up the hatch itself, force the players into a slightly trickier situation, but it's a dangerous rotate to make when you've always got the risk of, well, Rogue striking back from the bottom to the top. The separation in 20 seconds leads to things like that. There's drop, there's a bite back from Ras, takes the hatch and the damage on another bulletproof as Deepak's looking over the long line. It's Spoit, though, round the side of the beepers, gets one more for his trouble. Always is tucked inside a box, but doesn't last very long. Rogue find a second.
Oh, they had no clue. Deepak dug himself in between the 2 openings onto the quad wall there, finds one, goes prone instantly after to allow Spoit for the opportunity to play off his contact there. Well done by them. Even though that the side around them started to collapse quite quickly, and even though they had those first 2 openings, Outsiders again able to fight back into it. But that's a 2-0 opening. Now up towards the 3rd site they go. Seem to be on that top floor, on the executive lounge and CEO office.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Castle
defused by
again, make an
attackers.
appearance onto the board right here. This is the thing about this site. We've seen teams try and play this without the castle, in APAC as well, where a Rook, for example, came out. That was never really successful, though. You really need that B-bomb site to be under your control. You need that lounge to be able to be played. And a castle allows that by closing off the windows towards the outside, make sure they are a little bit harder to get through, require a little bit more utility to be used. And if you look over the right-hand side of your screen, it will have to be a Selma. It will have to be an Excalibur or a Gon 6 they use to get rid of these castle barricades deployed now by Kento.
There's a bit of danger when they start swinging like this, Rogue. There's always a bit of sort of shakes that can be established from a team that is very good at taking control of the pace and that sort of mantle of pressure. As soon as their guns are hot, it's quite tricky to cool them down because they sort of bask in that. They're rolling, they're downhill now, and how do you stop a snowball? At this point, you're sort of wanting to see the same effect from the side of Outsiders, because we know that they can be capable of it. It's often their sort of curse, is everyone knows what Outsiders are like on their day, which is, in some people's books, unbeatable. It's just seemingly a trickier moment to get that locked as sort of fluidly as you'd want it.
And as you mentioned, especially against a team like Rogue, who, as soon as they the morale gets on, there is no stopping them anymore. Grenades come through. Won't be reaching anybody as Kento again gets that first kill. Milon removed. That's the 0 gone. However, a small breach will be made into the Kento wall, which will allow them at least a little bit of security throughout this long hallway. Stop any rotations further down.
Dan suffering on the far end, and there's a bit of a rotate round underneath. Crying has a bit of the cover that comes through with Spoit once again, doubling down on that team on the move. Rask isn't going to sit around, though. I think he got the call that somebody had moved off. I'm not entirely sure where Milon did get caught from, but Dan is caught on the far end square, and we caught that perfectly. Leon with a heavy-hitting DMR once again pushes Outsiders into the 3 versus 5 situation. They have a little bit more time than they did last time, but you're looking at how this site sort of functions. It becomes a bit of a numbers game. You have to have a long sort of watch over from the top of square, from the windows onto the side itself, and from here over on the stock end, even if you're just leaving that back wall and the sort of work that's been done, which at this point they have to.
I mean, even if you look at the site currently, there's still castle barricades all around. It's going to be very difficult to get the challenge down onto the players that are holding the crucial points. Think of the janitor area, for example, the one that is looking directly into the windows if they go for a rappel through, but also the launch that stops them from going for any plant or for a top square take. Kento and Deepak still alive. They have a support structure around them as well. It is basically unbeaten until they manage to find a way right through to the middle of the site.
Oh, there's a very cheeky take from Deepak. Just caught Pasha on the window there, holding the angle, and that's the thing. It becomes such a risky game here when you're limited on bodies. You throw yourself in, Rask here, and he's being swung from every which way. Gets the first, gets dropped from the revenge there as Deepak's still tucked in. They know exactly where Always is. He finds the first engagement. It's the second. And that team I talked about before, Rogue, find that 3rd in a row.
And again, as I mentioned, it is going to be impossible to win it as long as there is someone in that janitor, as long as there is someone out in the office, because you're constantly finding yourself in those cross-angle engagements. It's unable, it's impossible to isolate them into 1v1s that way. And it's a full rotation done by Rogue. Back towards the basement they go. At least Outsiders have played against Rogue on this site. Know what to expect. Maybe they can adapt a little bit here. Maybe go a bit quicker as well. Remember the last time it took them about 2 minutes to get the top floor and the middle floor under control by flushing out all the roamers that were on the Rogue side back towards the site itself. So maybe a bit of a more direct approach could be beneficial here. Isolate them as there's only 1 or 2 players onto the direct side, because we did see 3 roamers last time and 1 under the blue stairs. Managed to isolate on that. Probably going to be Deepak as well, that is on his drones. You find yourself with some quick success.
5 seconds to insertion.
Alright, Outsiders.
Attackers must
You still
locate
think you
and
can try and
defuse the
put a bit of a
bomb.
drive here? It's, you know, always worth sort of highlighting how Bank plays itself, which is, to be honest, one that has a really good drive for attackers. And, you know, Rogue has been able to do their research, their lessons learned. They're coming in here with that sort of recent experience, but as Fresh highlighted on the desk, they're a great Bank team. They've had some massive moments that have either defined their run to a major or been that sort of precipice on where it was lost. And here, you know, it's that sort of step up where it's kind of, okay, well, we can go to Bank. It's something that we're both happy with. It's comfortable.
I doubt it's comfortable now for Outsiders, though. They haven't really had the opportunity yet to put any rounds on the board and are hoping to find it now against Rogue. Again, chasing down these roamers from the top floor, pushing them all the way down towards the ground floor into the basement. It is so far not super successful yet. That first minute has passed. They're all off the top floor now. But you need to cut them down as they fall back, because now you're just letting them live. You're not cutting off their rotation paths. Just letting them move as they wish.
Oh, do they know where the Nook is? Now they've got the straight ping. Rask is going to fire towards the elevator itself. Cryin has tucked around. He's just been caught on a drone. He's going to find himself maybe under a bit of a pressure, and it's from above. Actually, first needs to try and slip away. Rask is forced into a position where he can't get the strike, but Dan is able to get it locked off with Spoit with a very quick response there. It was a good lead in from Outsiders. Unfortunately for them, Rogue had a response in pocket, and they're able to sort of flaunt it. Leon getting a swing outside, and another peek against Dan. Rask removed as well. 2 of the guns that have been popping off quite well. It's at least 1 removed from the table and from the staple of Rogue here from the side, and the approach of Outsiders, and at least a bit of control here. But they're looking at roughly the same thing. A minute to try and get the breakdown. Some of the work done towards the site itself, but the plant is still going to be a bit of a challenge and a drive when you've got this. Blue under control. Deepak still on the drones. There's a lot of pressure that you've got to try and break through now.
No impact EMPs this time either, as Dan has died, which means they just need to muscle through those ADSs there, find a way to get rid of Leon, and that most likely will be by dropping through that hatch and trying to attack from 2 different angles at the same time. As that grenade pops through, Milan will find a headshot, and that is going to be bringing it back to a 3-on-3 situation here. But again, lots of utility, and there is going to be long angles as well on the side of Rogue.
Leon maybe expected a little bit more pressure to come through on the end of it and thought the grenade would be the same thing and hoped they could swing into somebody a little bit by surprise there and get one before he got 20 seconds now, and it's an even hand, 3 versus 3, and they've still got to try and fight through onto the site itself. Deepak holding and spraying towards the long angle. The plant's being stuck on the far end. Spoit gets the catch onto 1, but the kit should get locked in here by always. No, it's Deepak! The impact, it's a second too late. Or even slimmer than that with Milan now the Overwatch to 3 versus 1. And all 3 of them are coming for the fight itself. They know where he is. They know what they want to do. And it's this, the first, the second, the third. Can he make it? Milan, he's looking for 1 more kill, 1 more body to tear this round apart. He hasn't had an impact before now, but there is the biggest one.
He needed to get it. He needed to get the 3 Ps there as they needed to retake the top floor. And while he did it, he lined them up. He was conservative enough with the ammunition to make it last. And Rogue just not quick enough there to go for the push. You saw them all line up. You saw them all group together. And as a tactical timeout has been called by Outsiders either way. They know they need to get 1, maybe 2 more rounds to find themselves in a good position to go over for the second half. But again, well done by Milan. He heard the footsteps coming up to the staircase. He also realized what was going on at that moment in time. But in certain, like in these kind of situations, it might be better to actually send someone to the diffuser, have a bit of pressure down as well. It's always that tough like ask, right? But it's the last couple of times where we've seen 3-man retakes going up towards the first floor. It's always gone wrong for the team trying to retake the top.
Oh yeah. No, you're sort of throwing yourself all from a single doorway. The idea is, well, he can't kill all of us.
He could.
He could. I mean, it was a 4K that round from a player who's been a bit absent, as I said. From the early part of this game, it's a player that you need to be there.
Yeah. And he was there in that round and secured him there first, so we have to give him that one. But again, I just think that it might have been better to at least put up a bit of a distraction downstairs, like make some noise. Because right now, I mean, again, beautiful shots from Milan, all on point, good transfers coming out as well. Almost got spotted there onto the same goal, onto the same magazine. But he had the opportunity to reposition himself after that, and you know, he needs to check an entire room with a lot of cubicles and a lot of angles he can hide behind. And if the attacker knows where you're coming from, it's going to be very difficult for you, even if you are a wonder kid, to lock off that kill. And that's why I was like, maybe it would have been better to have that destruction downstairs. So he needs to pay attention to the diffuser whilst also balancing it out with the retake that was happening. But either way, what's done is done.
What's done is done. We're blessed.
We are.
With the idea of being able to look down upon them. Like a god.
With our omnipotence.
Open next. Omnipotence is where we find ourselves, and it's going to start with a slow creep round from underneath. The Nook hasn't been successful, really, for outsiders, and whether that's something they discussed on the tag time out, either way, Dan is going to be playing the role with Thatcher. Instead, the slow creep round underneath, hot droned in. They're hoping they can get a player on the drop through. If you remember, there was a player down here previously. Usually they fall to this point a bit later. There's a strike and a freebie, though. Leon's caught out by a surprise Dan. He's hoping somebody else steps in, but instead it's Rask that steps up and takes care of Kanto on the window itself. And that is a great early two-piece here from the side of outsiders. They had their tag time out. They realized that with this open play, we might be able to try and sneak through the door on a slightly different door and an angle, and they find a great strike out of it with a second follow-up on the site itself.
And those are the adaptations you can make if you're onto the attack. You've just seen all the sites happen. You use that tactical timer to quickly discuss those last notes. So well done by outsiders so far. They managed to find themselves 2 opening kills, and all they need to do now is work themselves towards the rest as they throw themselves through the Syria laser gate right there. Just take this side by brute force. And now the last 2 players are going to be offside. Spoit needs to retake through that small archives rotate. Cryin makes a lot of noise whilst he does that as well, and it's only up to him right now on the RX.
I mean, blinked and you missed it. That take was diabolical. They just drove into the site. They knew where the player was playing. They knew he had a position around that location before, and the wall was electrified. Usually it's a long juggle to get that wall open. And a Buck had a different idea. Just took the damage, ran his way through, pre-fired the swing angle under the expectation of, well, he'll be somewhere along this wall.
Yeah.
And then the site was theirs, and it was just very well read. It was a brave play, but that's the sort of play that you can make when you are 5 bodies and they are 3 bodies on your attack here.
I mean, it's also the adaptation we were talking about, right? They found the first 2 pretty freely. They also knew there was going to be roamers they would have to deal with, or not, in this case. So they just tossed themselves at the site, let those roamers retake. It was a 5v1 on the actual site when they went for it. And that's well done. And this is kind of what I said in the previous round when they were attacking the lockers again. Because then it was only Deepak on his drone on the site, Leon on the blue stairs with the smoke, and the rest was all going to be on the top floor or middle floor. If they would have been able to rush that site, that would have been a very, very quick round that didn't come down to that last 1v3 post-plant situation that could have ended if that one impact would have even been thrown just a millisecond earlier. But there's still the opportunity for that adaptation, as I don't think Rogue has been changing their setup too much around this side, as I believe Leon again headed towards the blue stairs here.
Yeah, I think this is it. Obviously, it did turn into a round that outsiders eventually won, but they shouldn't have. It was a huge clutch and a huge round from Milan here, and now they've since had a time to have a timeout. It's a conversational piece. How do we break a site we've seen a couple of times, even on the back of a success? That is the importance right now of this, and the slight changes of pace might come down to Kanto potentially keeping a little bit more of a connection here on that middle, that open area, instead of just leaving the Dream Team duo. Kanto might see if he can try and extend himself and put a little bit more of a presence around this. There's the reveal of the player and the caught drone on a drone heading up to the top. Deepak is a drone down.
Yeah, one drone down is going to be moving his next one in position as Cryon is slowly getting droned out. First MP will pop. That will force Leon to fall back a little bit further if he wasn't already. I believe he's going to be playing onto the actual site right now. Doesn't have any extra support on top of the square area, and thus doesn't want to stick around to find out.
You can see Rogue is trying to work out exactly where the pressure is coming from here, and they're putting the numbers together. It's hitting Leon a little bit earlier than it was before. They haven't suffered the same pressure from Rask around this core or above as of yet. They're trying to find this first angle, and they want to play the game that they've played successfully before, which is that sort of hit and run. Run themselves a little bit further back, push themselves forward. Spoit, he's fantastic at this, and he strikes the first and takes the run. There it is. In a perfect, apt demonstration. But as I said, Kanto might be that man of the moment here. He's sticking around a bit longer. He's on the hatch if he wants to take the drop, is it? But Spoit now has that freedom to potentially rotate a little bit further up.
Drones are coming out, but I don't believe they've actually checked the main stairs. And Spoit realizes that he gets a bit more aggressive onto those staircase sets, looking to find another fight up around the elevator hallway. Kanto does get swallowed out, so they know the castle has fallen back towards the side. They've earlier seen Spoit fall back as well, so they might think it's going to be completely clear now, but as you see, he is waiting at the bottom part of these staircases, but he missed the opportunity. The hammer sticks out, but he was unable to respond in time.
That's it. He took himself as far wide on that stair set as possible, but here's the difference maker that might be the rest of the round. It is Leon on the back line with the smoke canister goes too far. There's an EMP dropped over the top to stop a C4 if it hit the ground running. They're going to see if they can stick it, and they do, even amongst the smoke. A little bit too far of a swing, but Rask on the back cannot get the kill onto Cryon on the site itself. 4 versus 3. And the retake is going to happen with slightly less bodies this time, but it goes a bit of a better way. Cryon gets Milan, and the second is here for support with always on that stretch. Dan, he's watching down on the kit itself. The 4 versus 2, they've got the first angle, it's theirs. He's able to get the freebie onto Deepak as he hops over the table itself. They're still going for a 2-story retake here all the way to where it always is. They don't entirely know. They've taken the drop on the hatch. He's playing himself so safe. The smoke cover there, and it's caught out. Dan locked down from the back. The man's down inside the side. It's all down to Cryon. No! Outsiders in a 2 versus 4 and a cautious arm get themselves 3 apiece.
Well done. Playing passive there is crucial for Outsiders. They pull themselves back towards the dirt tunnel, back towards the archives, the angle they did not check before. That left Rogue guessing, and after Rogue, they looked so strong after those first 3 rounds. Outsiders, you mentioned it, managed to bring it back. Well done. Exactly what they needed as well, though, as they head over towards the defense now. Needing to continue that pace. And they'll start it off in the basement to see if they can make some advantage out of the weaker attacks that Rogue have been showing throughout this stage so far. 40% was mentioned on the graph. That will translate to about 2 rounds. 2.5 rounds. No, you cannot get half rounds. So, with that said, Outsiders, they have an opportunity here to take a win, propel themselves towards a potential major spot at the end of the stage.
Okay. Well, there's a bit of a setup. There's a bit of an angle here. Obviously, Rogue started the day at the top of the board as well. They want to put a little bit more of that distance, especially as they've got one of those rare gifts this late in the season, which is 2 of those top 2 form teams hitting the boards and one of them getting nothing out of it. It creates a divide that if they can stay on the top of, really raises the chances and the numbers of them taking a seat at the next major.
The thing is as well with Rogue, because after they won the major, we had the podcast with Spoit, had an interview, and he was saying that Rogue was kind of disappointed they didn't have first seed in the stage. And I'm like, you win the major, and that is what you're disappointed about.
Yeah,
but
it'd
it
be
wasn't the
nice.
first seed as well. So that's what they were aiming for on this stage. And, you know, when the day started, they were in first. If they win this, they will stay in first. And as you mentioned, create that bigger divide to, well, provide themselves some security. However, if they lose this, they will be demoted back down to third place, which is definitely not what they would be aiming towards.
Oh, that's it. It's such a make or break sort of day today for them to try and, I guess, pull this into a bit of a brawl, because they've also obviously got tricky games ahead of them. They're looking at playing Wolves. They're looking at playing Heroic, with Secret as the sort of meat in the middle of the sandwich, who have devastated teams in the top 4 before and ruined their runs towards the big shows. They know it's not an easy road. Outside, as I said at the start of this, I'm not saying theirs is easy, but it's definitely easier.
Yeah, it is definitely. Oh, that EMP is going to be catching off. Oh, no, just not. I was going to say the Electric Claw was going to be called off by the EMP there, but was just delayed. This one will be successful, though, so the hatch will be opened up eventually there, but still lost some Excaliburs and also an extra EMP they do no longer have. One left on the side of Rogue. If they want to use it on any of the other hatches, did the Excaliburs actually go through? Were they called off by the yeah, no, they did go through. For a second, I was afraid they got called off by the door right there.
They went through. They have some of the hatches open. They have about a minute, and they've got themselves all prepped and ready to rock and roll. But this is the thing that we talked about before on the desk, is the take itself has to be swift. It has to be quick. Outsiders are very good at playing this long arm game here. They're going to see if they can get the back line. They have the ADSs onto that connecting corridor itself to buy them as much safety and sanction on any of the moves here, with Dan getting the first. Kanto goes. Milan puts a shoulder of damage into Spoit, with Cryan trying to offer some support close on the door. That should remove Milan, and there it is, the swing round. But look at this, suddenly it's just Cryan left. In the meantime, we're watching that one fight. Everything fell apart on the site itself. They went for the plant. Smoke canister stopped it, caught the kill. And this is what we're talking about at these takes. Outsiders are very good at that lockdown, at that sort of, you know, okay, try and plant. We've got a minute and we've got 50 minutes worth of utility to juggle.
That's it. You need to be decisive. You need to just hit that side on multiple angles at the same time. Take out the important utility carriers. Take out the smoke. Take out the echo if it's on the board. Make sure that you can go for that plan without being interrupted. And yeah, she'll lose some buddies on the way, but if it's like a hesitated fight here and another bit of hesitation on the other side, you'll start losing out on these bodies, and suddenly there's not much you can do anymore. You look at that last engagement, for example. Cryan, he knew there was one going to be onto the doorway on his left. Player from the main stairs is being shot at, gets killed. Eventually, that's when a grenade pops in. That's when the player gets locked out. If you're a bit quicker on that, you might have just saved one of your players' life. Suddenly you're finding yourselves in a 2-on-3 situation rather than a 1-on-3 situation. It evens out the odds a little bit more in your favor, and then gunfights on the other side go your way as well. Suddenly Rogue would have been in lead of that round. Quickly highlighting the Sprabuni and Raph graphics here.
Sprabuni and Raph.
That's a jingle. We need to actually record one so we can just press it.
Well, at the main show, I did like 7 different ones.
I know.
over the days.
But 92% confirmed for Rogue if they would be winning this in regulation to go towards the major. And as of yet, we haven't locked in a single team yet. As Leo takes a whole lot of damage as they open up on that castle barricade.
Ah, they knew it was coming. That move was read like a book. Milan waited for the pulse, the grenade, and pre-fired the angle, hoping somebody would be trying to be a bit smart and sharp behind it. Wanted to scarp for a rush. Didn't get that, but did get a lot of the player itself. Cryan finds Rask, though. The castle is caught out by a Nook. The previous Nook, who wasn't really very successful throughout it in terms of those sort of plays, has shown how it can be done. Dan, in the meantime, is showing what castle can be done without a castle there. Rebuilds the window, puts the pressure back on. That one should be punchable, but we already know they're pre-firing the angle, so it becomes dangerous to do from any sense of close.
And Leon needs to be careful, though, because he is a soft breacher, but also the hard breacher of the team, carrying 2 of the hard breach gadgets. As Cryan will be finding another kill. Finds Pasha on the top floor. That's 2 kills on 2 different floors now for the Nook, just sneaking about and now using this hatch to his advantage. That is a direct entry right next to the side as well. He is in a position to, well, wreak some havoc onto the Outsiders team as soon as they do want to go for an execute.
5 versus 3. They've done very well here, Crying. That doesn't catch anybody that's tucked into cans in corner, or the mute jammers either, so those get to live a little bit longer if they were going to try and find their way on the breach towards the wall itself, but you're looking at that only really in the pockets of Leon, and he's still got some study work to do above. Cracks the angle, gives themselves a bit of a route through. They're forcing the players further away from any of that back-end corner. Dan has to tuck himself close towards the drop on the hatch. If they want to take it, it's a sort of dangerous dance event. No, the hatch might be locked, even.
Not quite sure, but that window's definitely been closed, at least for now. Grenades being pulled out to toss at close range, but a Magnet will catch that off. The second attempt will be made by Kenta, but the player's already rotated out, not sticking around to see if that grenade would eventually find him. As Carney's kind of struggling with opening up the Kiba barricade, it's definitely giving away his position right here as Dan looks to chase him down.
That's it. As I said, they like to swing that game, so it's something where they had to do it at a bit of an arm's length. The break through the door, and they're cut immediately out the door. Dan tried to go for a charge, Crying with a triple. It's a spray onto the door itself, but a flawless is the return and the response there from the flawless that was achieved by Outsiders in the first half.
Making sure that they keep the scoreline even, because they've also heard about the bet that Fresh has made now. That usually results into that result happening. So Outsiders do have that plot armor going for them, but Rogue not willing to give in to that, at least not for now. 4-4 on the attack still. The open area again being ran here by Outsiders, looking to find success the second time around.
And I think that's sort of it here, is how do you stop a problem like Kraia? They are so powerful in that role. They're being hot droned ahead. They're happy to take these engagements on these sort of loose threads and fights. They sort of are trusted by Rogue as well to do that exact role, to sort of say, well, you know, Crying, we'll give you all this utility, we'll give you this lead in. They find 2 kills. Pasha, we saw entirely unaware of the presence and the pressure that was coming behind them. It's that sort of thing that Rogue can do. It's that sort of thing that the desk wanted Rogue to do, was to be a bit quick, a bit sharp, a bit sort of attentive towards these positions of Outsiders and show the math, show the working of what they've done on the prep for this.
Yeah, for sure, and it's also the Rogue we kind of know and love, right? Like, that they have a variety of playstyles they could go for, but the quick aggression is definitely one that we love to see. There's a quick opening onto the castle barricade. This time, again, no Keeper barrier as of yet to follow up or spray down towards Leon. They went for a bit of a different approach this time when opening that one up.
They've gone 6 safety.
Yeah, they've gone 6 safety.
They very quickly realized that bullets in the face hurt. So instead of trying to throw themselves directly through it and get themselves into that position, they pulled themselves just a little bit further back, and they used the grenade to sort of maybe force the position a bit further away. Still steady on. Dan suffering a little bit first here over the top of stock, and safety crawls himself down the hatch and dropped out. There wasn't quite anybody in a position to catch them yet, but again, how do you solve a problem like Crying? Well, he's found himself now tucked in an entirely different location. The hatch above is soft. He's got the check, so he's not going to be dropped down on from above. He's hoping the players are forced round into uncomfortable situations.
He left the camera on. He was recharging his health so he can actually hold this angle effectively. Doesn't want to take out the camera because that lets them know someone's out there. So he's hoping he can, well, let someone have a fake sense of security, let them come through that hallway again so he can take them down, find that first entry again. But so far, no luck yet.
Now they have someone all the way underneath. Spoit missed them at first, but really that should have been a death of Spoit there at that moment in time. That's why you're there, waiting for that exact moment of someone to swing the hatch. Does get Crying on the rotate round. Rask is able to at least find something out of it. But still, I mean, that could have been a more decisive moment there. Kanto, he's trying to put some pressure here from the top of the hatch. They've been able to take out the big player. They've got Deepek holding off on the roam all the way on the far end, hoping Rask will just drift around and try and put pressure onto the bottom of square, as a lot of teams do at this moment in time. There's still an angle of a square take that can come together, but the wall itself is solid, jammed up. There's not really a easy to find comfortable pocket to get that dropped in. That grenade, slightly misthrown. That's why you give it a little bit extra cook. And here, the break and the breach over the top, but it seems this wall staying solid, so this is going to turn into a force through in the side.
Yeah, they need to push themselves right behind the kitchenette there to go for a plan behind the B bomb chassis, but as the pings are coming through, they're aware of the Azama that's playing right behind the Keeper barricade. It's going to be very difficult for Rogue here to punch through, to muscle through from the different kind of angles that they have, but it needs to happen as Dan will find Deepak, and that is going to be a very heavy blow for Rogue.
Spoit at least gets one back and one more back right on the Beeper's door. He finds a third! Spoit cooking him inside the kitchen, looks for the fourth just on the tuck here onto cans and swing round. There's pressure on the door itself and Kanto's able to find the kill on the back of it. It's suddenly all fallen away. There's just an echo drone and a second. They find the first. Can he get the angle? No, both are caught out! There's the intel and the calls from a team well rehearsed in panic situations. A 3 versus 1. Retake always almost had that. And now he's got a much trickier task that Spoit disagrees with. A very restrained little fist bump there from a man who just pulled off a 4K.
Yeah, a restraint for now. I mean, that is definitely going to be ending up in a highlight reel afterwards, but for now they need to get back into it. And I saw the Echo run. I saw him run for that hatch. It's like he's going to try and deny the plan like that because it's all falling apart as soon as Spoit ended up on the back line, found that triple kill entry. But it's kind of what we know from Rogue last stage. It was Spoit opening up the site for the rest of the team to just flood in, do what they need to do, get that plan down, win the round. This stage it has been less like often happening to Rogue. Like Spoit hasn't been finding the triple K entries coming through every now and then, but you know, if it happens in these situations where you're basically a man down already and you're not really having an opening into the direct bomb site, it's more than welcome if he just pops off like that.
All right, 5-4 here, Rogue. They've been able to claw themselves back in after the 4 rounds in a row that Outsiders were able to thread over the start and sort of end of the previous half. Here, they're back towards the one side they've been able to take on their defense. They're going to see if they can try and do it. As I said before, I complimented the long holds that they did, and you know, we wanted a little bit more of that energy from Rogue there. That might be the builder behind it. That might be the precursor behind it. The same way it was for Outsiders' swing round of Milon, getting that 4K and driving the team in. Suddenly, we saw very different energy from Outsiders. And here from Rogue, it's not that they need an entirely different energy, but you always like to see the reigning champions of the region bring a hot game.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this is the current champion, and we've seen it happen many times before where a team wins the major and that misses out onto the next one and kindly, you know, drops off a bit more for the next couple of stages. We do not want to see that happen to our European sweethearts of Rogue. And for now, they're definitely still fighting in that top four, looking to qualify themselves, and you know, still showing that they are one of the, if not the best in Europe.
Crying once again, playing the game of do you know where I am? Spoit, he's offering some support just round on the swing of green. The grenade will bounce around and instantly move behind it. Spoit's going to see if he can try and get somebody on the back end of that. They've got themselves tucked, waiting, holding on for anybody, getting a little bit anxious and overzealous on a swing round. But as the cams and the pings come through, they're happy to sort of sit here across the site itself. Pasha's keeping Garage under lock and key. It's a wide floor, and they have eyes on all of it. So it's down to Rogue to see if they can try and find that blind spot.
Matches are being opened up in the meantime, though, by Leon. They left up the serial laser gate, at least for now, of course, due to the fact they could be reignited in about 30 seconds of time. That is going to be, I believe, a juggle with the Electroclaw. That should be opened up. Get a second EMP on that ASAP. Oh no, it didn't reach!
He missed it! Oh, he missed with the claw.
That is very painful. Shouldn't happen, but at the same time, also no EMPs left on Rogue, so it would have been the destruction and the closure of that hatch permanently for the rest of the round.
Well, this time, 45 seconds, and Pasha at least gets the first, but Kanto a quick response over the shoulder of it, and Milon underneath the hatch puts the kit cold. It's in a place that can be got with the remaining time, and you can see they're slightly slinking their way over to get it, but it's still dangerous. You've always still got the risk, and that's why they've got to be slow and steady with it. The smoke canister's going to stop any immediate approach and a swing behind it. The garage control and this, the drop onto the elevator hatch, and Slightly slowed here on the angle. Spoit's going to take a shoulder of damage, but gets Milan's head for the trouble. Behind the chassis and the drone rolling their way through. They're putting all that pressure and sort of eggs into the B basket here in 10 seconds. They got to make sure it connects. It does not always. Gets the first, gets the second. Popped and locked round the corner. A great triple kill to end it Outsiders, bringing it back to 5 apiece.
Making sure that they keep it tight. They want to find points out of this game as they realize these are currently the top dogs of Europe. If we manage to take points home from this game, our chances for the major will massively increase. What if they even get a full force victory out of this one? That will definitely put them onto the skyrise towards a potential major qualification. Either way, Rogue, 45 seconds timeout coming through. They need to have a chat. They need to find a way to stop Outsiders because they are getting dangerously close to be taking points away from them.
It would be devastating, I think, for Rogue at this point to drop points on this game. It would be more so devastating for Outsiders, but Rogue should be taking this game. That's the sort of breakdown of this. Outsiders, they've obviously had very massive roster changes and very massive structural changes as well of the person behind the team over this recent split. If they got to the major, it would be excellent for them. The same way Rogue and G2 and sort of rosters that have gone through big changes and made a major have said. It's like, we didn't expect this. We were on a building period and we're here. Great. When that expectation has shifted, when you're at this expectation of you've got to be the reigning champion, you've got to come back and defend the belt, it makes these games tougher when they become scrappy, that it's against a team that you know is going through such sort of big changes.
This round was difficult for Rogue because it was a 3-on-3. There was 14 seconds left. The diffuser gets taken out first. That's almost guaranteed a loss at that point. Especially if it gets called out. The other two will just hide. Not have to take any gunfight at all. That brings us at this point 5-on-5. In round 11, whoever takes this is going to have the opportunity to fight for a full 3-point game.
Attackers are moving out to locate
We
a
could
bomb
even
and
say,
defuse it.
could we say 6 points? To some extent we can, but I somehow doubt it's going to be coming down to Outsiders and Rogue, and one of them will be making a major and one will not at the end of the stage. But it is possible. It could still happen. We're, you know, not really like at the end of the stage so far. There's still a couple of play days to go. As we get on through. And this Crying sneaking in through the lobby, getting some pings. There is a bulletproof currently active though, so we have to hope the hell lasts long enough. That's a grenade to be tossed in. That should be a guaranteed kill onto the castle. There you have it. Rask taking out a clean entry for Rogue.
He's had a bit of a hit and miss game. Rask, unfortunately, that's a hit against him. There, a connection from a grenade, well rehearsed. They knew exactly where he was and how they could try and get him locked on it. Now it becomes a question here of can they try and hold on with the body down. Generally, the deficit has been something that's cost them throughout these rounds, throughout this game. It was a bit scrappy on one of the swings here onto open. And the one where they lost the opener, it was flawless, so...
The thing is as well, you have to look at it. The only way out now for Outsiders of the actual site is going to be through the elevator hallway. The area where just one of their members has been grenaded from by trying on that knock. So it is looking very dire for them. They need to stick on the site. And look at the time left, 90 seconds still now. It was about 2 minutes when the first kill came through. So there's so much time for Rogue to just prepare themselves, to just start hammering down onto the side, to take out some small pieces of utility left, right, and center, and to truly wrap themselves around whatever is left of the hold of Outsiders here as they try and get some extra information out. Sport again waiting on the elevator hallway, looking to find himself an entry.
As the brakes start to trickle their way down over the top of the site itself, the sledge is going to go once again grenade fishing into those corner locations and try and get a catch on the players. The first doesn't land close enough, fortunately for them. Well, with all of them now out of pocket, apart from Crying, still with one left. That's 5 grenades utilized, and they're at least able to find one of the kills on the end of it. The swing and the pressure towards that Azami. He's going to get himself a little bit more barricaded. That was broken quite swiftly before, but they'd already dropped towards the chassis. Spoit, can he try and do a little bit of magic once again? He's looking for the location, looking for the calls, looking for the angle, and looking to be gifted one. But look at this, all of Outsiders have pulled themselves back around the corner. They're not going to overextend. They don't have to. Leon's able to find the first, the second. Oh, just missed out, but Cryin is able to catch the kill there from the window on the far end. There's Spoit with one more. It's just always left. As I said, at one point it was scrappy, but now twice. Oh, it was almost a flawless, I was going to say.
Almost again, but, you know, 3 guns lined up in the end. Only one of them was taken out by the Outsiders player. And that means it is going to be an opportunity for a full 3-pointer here for Rogue. As it is 6-5 currently. Can they lock it off? Teller's Archive seems to be the site the Outsiders wants to go through. This is a site we do not often see, Emmy. Reason for it being is that there is a lot of verticality right above that site. There is almost no safe place to play in on this site.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused.
No. Yeah. It's,
What?
surprise, I know.
I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
Now, back when we used to see this site a bit more, often it was played with an extension.
Yeah.
Which will be the case now as well. Top floor, open area, kitchen, those will all be taken into account, but also the main staircase. Sometimes you do see someone play on the lower half of those stairs. You can watch through holes that have been created, or, well, in this time, a big rotation hole that has been made. You can stop them from walking in if they do attack from lobby and the teller's side. However, that
Look at
approach
that.
doesn't seem to be on that much anymore.
I'm wondering,
Attackers must
you know,
locate
they've
the bomb.
obviously got 2 reinforcements left at this moment in time. If anything is going to either be put onto the little box wall connecting open, or if they might be one in the middle, because otherwise that is a site all the way through from kitchen,
Yeah.
towards that castle, towards that approach. They are really long-arming this hold on the back end. And, you know, you talked about how that used to be played with an extension. Usually it wasn't that far.
No, this is as far extended as can go. You can almost say the entire map has direct vision onto the site itself. And that is a bold strategy, especially with the scope advantage that comes in the attacker's favor.
You gotta trust that they're not reading this, because, you know, putting pressure onto the back end of that, it is something that could entirely open up the site and entirely take away from the hold on the back end. There's going to be a quick approach here. Watched cautiously by Deepak on the swing round, making sure nobody's on that swing round. Kanto's going to see if he can try and find some of the pressure above. Pasha is around there behind the hard wall, and he might be about to find a fight here on Janitor's door. Spoit's looking for the drone through. There's a player in elevators. He takes a lot of damage, Pasha, but he survives. You expect elevator players. Oh, he takes the drop. He's not going to risk it. Cryin pulls back. Pasha is gone.
Pasha tried to rotate out there after his first engagement with Spoit, but Spoit was hoping to go for the EDDs. He quickly took out the rotating player of Pasha as well. And that's the top floor now gone, out of control. And now all they have is the extension, because I mentioned it before, you cannot play on the site due to all the verticality that is right up above, and that forces them to play this extended out. However, that is slowly starting to chip away from them as well, as, well, castle barricades are opening up, Cryin is starting to come around the corner, they are forced to fall back towards the basement, which is not going to be ideal in a situation like this, because, well, that is removing even more of the pressure you had with these long vertical lines, or horizontal lines. They can go into A. I think they could just plant right behind the desk if they wanted to.
Well, that's going to slow things down a little. Dan catches Spoit on the drop into the hatch itself. As I said, they might try and put the fight into open, and they do. Leon tucked around the corner, gets 2. Milan does find Deepak, but still, now he's got to bite back into the side. Oh, hell of a take there from the long range. Milan is all that's left, though, in the 2 versus 1. He's got the pings onto the first on site. Can't quite get the full connection. The kid is cold, but they have 35 seconds. Was going to break it, but just misses the rotation of the player itself there. Kanto's got it back, and he's not going to play around.
Yeah.
This is experience. I'm going to go get that kit tucked, and you got to watch me from the one angle. They might be able to get to me in time. A very clever moment and call there, and definitely the right decision. There's Cryin, just slips by. That's the 3rd time. Milan has been so close to getting in a fight. At this point, they've pulled off one underneath and one's heading up, rotating over the top of the spiral stairs itself. They've got just that swing round onto green. If they try and go for the defuse, they've got themselves above as well, but they're not overextending. The angles are there. The players are prepped in a position to go for this. You cannot really long arm it. And at this point, it's an impossible situation at this moment in time. Rogue, they've played this perfectly at the very end, and it's been a fight on the way here. Outsiders, once again, very close, but Rogue, 3 points are theirs.
Yeah, close for Outsiders, but no points to take home for that. And a good last round from Rogue, reading into the situation well. A bit risky though, sending Leon down through the open area, finding 2 kills of his own. With that diffuser before that finally dropped on the ground. If he would have gone down earlier, that would have been a completely different round. But it is a 7-5 victory. Rogue is going to be able to take that one home. Well, not quite comfortably, but comfortable enough.
It's the shame of the story here for Outsiders. It's obviously still a fight for them. It's been a fight for them this whole stage. It's actually one of the first times they've had a sort of full loss against them since the very opening Playday. So where will they go from here? I'm not sure. Where will we go from here? To a break, and then over to our desk to break it down.